Hello everyone from Chelsea Fan TV. I hope you're all doing very, very well. Happy days for a lot of Chelsea fans out there. If you're unhappy, actually, I don't know why I said most Chelsea fans, pretty much all Chelsea fans. If you're unhappy, I don't know why. We are on the up. We are starting to gain some momentum. Things, are they clicking? We're certainly getting there. Let's put it like that. But yeah, I mean, a lot to talk about regarding Chelsea. A lot of different factors. There's still debates to be had, even with the good run of form. Our goal scoring record has been fantastic. Cole Palmer has been firing. We're going to talk about him. We're going to speak about our midfield as well as our defence and our goalkeeping issues. And where do we go from here? We've still got a number of games to play this week. Obviously, we've got the Europa Conference League against Ghent on Thursday. I'll be at that game, and I'm sure there's going to be more heavy rotation. So we're going to see a lot of players who didn't play on the weekend in the Premier League. So yeah, let's get straight into it, guys. The first thing that I want to talk about is Robert Sanchez. What do we think about him? I asked that to you in the chat. I mean, me personally, I think that he has had a very good season. I don't think he deserves to start the season. I would never have given him that right. I would have probably given Jorgensen the number one spot straight away. But what Maresca's decided to do is give Jorgensen the role as a cup keeper, and then Sanchez plays the league games, which generally I think league is number one and cup is number two. Obviously, if you're in the Champions League, you could argue that it's great to do that as well, but let's not lie to ourselves. Sanchez is clearly Enzo Maresca's favoured goalkeeper, and the reason being his distribution. Most likely, I think that's what Enzo Maresca likes about Robert Sanchez. From what you hear at Chelsea, in training, Robert Sanchez is phenomenal. He's perfect. And then when it comes to some of the pressure situations in games, that's when the mistakes start to come out, and that's why he became out of favour at Brighton, and obviously he ended up getting dropped by Pochettino as well last season for Petrovic. And I still never understood why we got rid of Petrovic. I think, he's more than capable of being Chelsea's number one. He's come out publicly and said, that's my goal, is to be number one for Chelsea Football Club. He just had a great game for Strasbourg. I think they beat Marseille 1-0. So yeah, good to see Petrovic doing well out there as well. I think Diego Moreira as well, who we just sold to Strasbourg. I think he actually scored the goal, if I'm not wrong. And yeah, he's doing well out there. So yeah, big up to Strasbourg, Blueco, all of that. But yeah, let's move on. So yeah, I don't think that Sanchez is necessarily a player that needs to be dropped at this moment. But I do think if he continues with these silly mistakes, then you've just got to do it, haven't you? Because, look, you're going to concede chances. These things are going to happen 2 times in one game. I mean, that's ridiculous. You think you learn after the first mistake. They're totally different things, but completely contradicts anyone who says, well, he's very reliable at saving shots all the time, yeah? Because the first goal that we conceded against Brighton, if Sanchez had just stayed put, we probably wouldn't have conceded that goal. The second goal, when he misplaced the pass, I mean, that's different. You can talk about passing out from the back, all of this stuff. And then you can look at the manager, right? That's the system. You're setting up the players to play a certain way. They're either capable or they're not. But also, what's the instructions and the message that you're giving these players? Because if Enzo Maresca is saying to Robert Sanchez, you need to pass the ball short every single time, then that's a managerial issue as well. Because I think there are times where you just need to hoof it up. But that doesn't seem to be the problem, though, because Maresca doesn't have an issue with long balls. There's been games where we've implemented it plenty of times. Robert Sanchez had a great ball against Wolves that set up Jackson, who then got the assist for Cole Palmer when we won that game 6-2. So this isn't a managerial issue. This is on the player. But it will become a managerial issue if Robert Sanchez doesn't pick up his form, because that is what we're missing. And that's what we were missing. And then we managed to get it with Petrovic. We had stability. And then we got rid of him and we brought Sanchez back anyway. So I beg you, Robert Sanchez, please perform. Please be consistent. I want you to do well. We all do. But I think that Yeah, we're going to see more of those mistakes this season. So let me know what you think about Robert Sanchez, guys. I personally haven't made a decision on him, but would I take Petrovic over him every day of the week? Jorgensen, haven't seen enough to really justify him starting over Robert Sanchez at this moment in time. Now, with our defenders, one thing that we cannot talk about anymore in question is Levi Colwill. And this is where Pochettino certainly got it wrong. Playing Colwill as a left back, sometimes not starting him in games. That was just criminal. And I couldn't agree more with people that say that, because he is, without a shadow of a doubt, one of the best ball-playing defenders in the Premier League when he's at his best. That's why Liverpool were linked with him so heavily. They wanted him. And that's why other clubs probably would have coughed up the money if he was on the market. We absolutely have a top player on our hands, and we need to manage him well. And I think Enzo Maresca is certainly doing that. When you've got players like Colwill and Fofana, you want players to complement each other. And this is another debate that we have. You've got Colwill, who threads the balls through, always forward, always positive. He's a leader as well. I met him at the training ground in Cobham last season. The only player, except for maybe Gusto, that would actually just stand and have a chat, about whatever it was. And just a very laid-back guy, a leader, and a great influence to all of his other teammates, because I just think that Colwill has that spirit. And being a Cobham boy as well, I mean, we've lost enough of them, haven't we? We lost Mount, we lost Gallagher, all of these players. We've kept a hold of Colwill, and I hope we utilise him and continue to do so. I think he's going to be a top player for us. And we need to build this team around him. The question is, this season, who do you play next to Colwill? We know we've got to play CUCURELLA on the left. And I think that he's been sensational. I think you could actually argue this season he's been the best left back, one of the best left backs in the league. I hear all this talk about Calafiore, for example, but he hasn't really played for Arsenal. It's hard to justify that. I just think for what you get with CUCURELLA, there's a reason Man City was sniffing around. And he has been fantastic. Enzo Maresca said it himself. There's not many players like CUCURELLA out there that will do what he does. He has such a character. It almost reminds me of Rudiger when he was at Chelsea. And I'm not going to say CUCURELLA is this massive soldier, but he is a pest. And anyone that watches football regularly, you would rather have a pest on your team than against your team. And every time CUCURELLA plays, he's in the referee's ear, he's in players' faces, he's making runs, he's making tackles, he gets stuck in. I just love him. I absolutely love him. And I think he's already becoming a fan favourite. Just a great player to watch. I love CUCURELLA. So you've got to keep him there. Gusto, I mean, he's been fantastic as well. If Reece James is available, you can obviously think about slotting him in, but Gusto's going to get plenty of game time because of our injury woes. And this brings me to Fofana and Tosin, who, I've said from the beginning, I think Tosin should be starting ahead of Fofana. I don't think Fofana had a great game. I just don't think I don't think he's as special as people say he is. I think he's a good player. I think he's good enough for Chelsea. Yeah, I'm not doubting that. But I think that Tosin is better at this moment in time to build a team around. And I think that he's proven himself just as much as Fofana has in a lot of ways. Fofana was at Leicester, Tosin was at Fulham. Tosin obviously played for Man City as well. He's very much suited to this style of play that we're trying to implement under Enzo Maresca, passing the ball out. And he's just a great player to have, a great character. And I think that's one of the aspects to it. Also, the injury record that Fofana has. But if you look at videos of Tosin in training, if you hear about what people say about him, he is a natural-born leader. That is what I want with both of my centre-backs. Why do I only need one leader? Yeah? Why do I only need one? I want leaders all over the pitch. And I think that Tosin embodies those qualities much more than Fofana does, if I'm honest with you. And I think that, look, if Fofana can have a good season, then we have a different conversation. But until that happens, I'm not convinced. I don't think he's going to stay fit. And he's never proven himself over a consistent period. So, yeah, for me, Tossin's obviously going to play in the Conference League, but I think he should also get starts in the Prem as well. Maybe even a full rotation in that sense. Let me know what you think about it, guys. And then we move on to Enzo Fernandez. I think we're all very happy with Caicedo. We don't need to say too much about him, but there are a lot of question marks with Enzo Fernandez. Not from some people. Some people absolutely love him. You know, I was in the pub after the game on the weekend. I was chatting with Lewis. I was chatting with Matt. They both think that Enzo Maresca had a great game against Brighton. I didn't. I don't think he was that great. I watched Match of the Day because you do want to see these things back. Obviously, I'm in the stadium. I have a certain view in Matthew Harding. It is a little bit easier to watch the game sometimes from the middle of the pitch rather than behind the goals. And I have to appreciate the passes as well that Fernandez made. You know, there's some great balls. He slipped Palmer through. He had another ball as well. A couple of really good passes. Is a couple of really good passes good enough to warrant a start for Chelsea Football Club? If that's what you're basing it off of, and that's what some people are. They're going, well, he's creative. He sets up the players around him. But I think, unless you're a number 10, maybe you can get away with it then. But if you're in that midfield position where he's not quite as high up as Cole Palmer, he's not quite as deep as Caicedo, but he's sort of in the middle. What do I expect from you? I expect you to win your 50-50s. I expect you to cover a lot of ground. I expect you to initiate the press, block and cover passes, link up the play, get around the pitch, make your teammates around you better, make it easier for them. And I didn't really see it, to be totally honest with you. I like Fernandez. I really do. I think he's fantastic. But I understand why a lot of fans don't. And is he worth 100 million? No chance. In the modern day market, is he worth 80 million? I probably wouldn't even go that far. So if you want to compare Fernandez to the price that we paid for him, he's just not been good enough. Let's be honest. He's just not been good enough at all. And if you do question, or if you think he has been good enough, why do you think that fans like me, for example, think the other way? And so many of them as well. It's not just me. This is a big conversation. I think that there's a real split down the middle, a 50-50 split. Chelsea fans who think Fernandez is great, and some fans who just don't think he's all that. I think somewhere in the middle. I still haven't really made a decision. If we played Fernandez in the role that he originally started off in when Graham Potter was here, I think we probably would see the best of Enzo. But we're not. We're playing him in a different role. And I think that hinders how he can play, because there's moments where his back is turned. I always like it when he receives the ball, just in front of the defenders, or even slots in to come and get the ball. But I'm not really seeing that as much under Enzo Maresca. I'm seeing him pushing up a little bit too much for my liking at times. But yeah, I don't know. I really don't know about Enzo Fernandez. I'm going to give it a couple more weeks, see where I'm at. But for me, if I was to rate him out of 10, for what I've seen this season so far, I'd give him a 6 out of 10. That's pretty average. I think we can do a lot better than that. And then when you look at what we had with Romeo Lavia when the season started, come on. Lavia starts ahead of Enzo Fernandez if we go on that argument. I think that Lavia just... Maybe Enzo Fernandez picks slightly better passes. I think that he can do that. And I agree that he is an upgrade on Lavia in that respect. But in terms of general midfield play, I think Lavia just offers more. And I think he can do a little bit more as well. We saw for Southampton, if he wants to have a shot on goal, he's got a cracking shot. He's got a great goal against Chelsea a few years ago. I don't know if you remember that at St Mary's. And I think he's so nifty with his feet. He's so quick, and he just gets us ticking. And Caicedo's quite versatile. So I think if you want to push a player up, it'll probably be him. He'll still get stuck in. It'd be interesting to see how Maresca approaches the Enzo Fernandez situation. As far as I'm aware, he'll probably just keep playing him. But if he doesn't up his performances, questions need to be asked, and I think they certainly will. But look, it's just an open debate. I want to know what you think as well, guys. And I'm going to finish off with Noni Madueke, because I think we're very happy with Sancho. He's slotted into the team well. Cole Palmer is unbelievable. I think there's a real argument for him to get Ballon d'Or if he continues playing the way he is. Really, really, I mean, it's just unbelievable. What Hazard did was amazing for Chelsea. And Hazard popped up quite a bit, but he didn't do it every single game. And Palmer, you just can't stop him. The goals, the assists, everything, even the work rate. World class, Cole Palmer. And Jackson as well. Absolutely fantastic. I think the link up between him and Palmer is probably why he keeps playing, just because he gets the best out of Palmer as well. But yeah, Nkunku will definitely start on Thursday. That would be good. Nkunku definitely needs more minutes at Chelsea, and he'll get that, especially when we come up to that sort of December period where there's just so many fixtures. You're going to need to rotate at one point. And when we're breaking down low blocks as well, Nkunku's going to be fantastic. But yeah, I'll finish off on Noni Madueke, who I have enjoyed watching. I think he's played very well for us. But not as well as the other attackers. Not as well as Palmer, not as well as Jackson, and not as well as Sancho since he's come in. I thought that after the Wolves game, we'd see this momentum, this snowball effect. Certainly a confidence and an arrogance. And I think that Madueke still has that. I don't think that he's lost his confidence, his mojo. But there are times where I just think you need to be a little bit smarter. Release the ball. Pass the ball. Don't make the run then. You know, just do what you need to do for the team, not just yourself. And I almost think that Madueke is so desperate to impress that he hinders his own performances. And if he can just focus on getting the best out of the team and being a part of that, then he'll slot in nicely. Enzo Maresca clearly likes him. I think Madueke deserves the game time as well, because Pedro Neto has not exactly been a world beater since he's come in. He's been good, he's been okay, but not good enough to say, right, you're starting every single week. But certainly good enough to replace Madueke if he's not playing well. And absolutely, if you want to start Neto ahead of Madueke right now, that is an argument that, yeah, you can agree with that argument, can't you? He scored against Barrow, came on, and he has an energy that Madueke probably can't really match. But Madueke just has this flair, it's like a street footballer at times at Madueke. But if we can see it more consistently, then yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that he'll continue to start for Chelsea. But I'm still sat on the fence with Neto and Madueke. I think that spot is up for grabs. As for Sancho, Palmer and Jackson, those places are set in stone. And that's not going to change anytime soon, especially if we keep playing the way that we have been. But Madueke just needs to improve a little bit. The whole attitude issue, I don't know if I fully agree with what Chelsea fans are saying, not this season at least. I know there's moments where he has the chance to receive a ball and a player passes to someone else. I think that happened against West Ham when Palmer scored and Madueke was a little bit annoyed. His body language. But I wouldn't read too much into it. Ronaldo did it at times. And Ronaldo was a fantastic player with a great attitude. Every player has their moments, but I think we've just got to judge Madueke over a longer period. We saw it with Jackson as the season went on. Last year, I think he got better and better. And I think that can happen with Madueke as well. He had a massive up with Wolves and he's been brought back down to reality. So now he just needs to find his footwork, find his feet, get some consistency. It's not all about scoring goals, It could just be a creative spark for us. And he did actually get an assist that was ruled out against Brighton. But yeah, certainly not writing off Madueke. I think he deserves more minutes. And I wouldn't have a problem with Maresca starting him, but I wouldn't have a problem starting Neto either. So yeah, just a little recap. I think that Sanchez, up your game. You've got to do better. He's not going to get dropped unless it's a cup game. Tosin over Fofana. I will definitely start him as it stands. I hope Fofana's performance is improved. Maybe that can change my mind. I bring Lavia into this team as soon as he is ready. If he's not physically 100%, then obviously you don't play him. But when Lavia's fit, I bring him into this team. Probably dropping Enzo Fernandez, if I'm totally honest with you. And then, up for grabs, that right-hand side in the midfield. I think we're looking at Madueke and Neto. We still haven't really made our decision, but we'll see what happens. Let me know if you enjoyed the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Leave your comments below, and up the Chels.